thank the Indian Railways, central government, the Minister Shri Suresh Prabhu, who has sent the entire railway team from across India to visit this show, understand the cleaning, understand the laundry, and take back the solutions which they can implement in the railways. We have some senior officials here who have a round of questions to ask.
So sometimes we get tough stains, maybe some tea, coffee or some sauce, juice, something falls on that and tough stains will be there. In normal washing, the tough stains will not be wiped off. So what our laundry contractors they do, they segregate these tough stained bed sheets and blankets separately, and they keep separate staff for that, and manually they try to remove these stains. So is there any equipment or procedure, automatically the stains should be cleaned?
Good afternoon. My name is Lalit Sharma and I'm leading the commercial laundry and hospitality business for Diversity India. Now, coming to the stain removal, as you are aware that stain removal and washing are two different processes. When we look at the stain per se, it is important for us to follow a complete laundry process then rather than going into the washing altogether. So when it is coming to stains of specific cuff collar stains and they are stubborn, kind of tea stains and all, it is important to treat them separately. And when we talk about the complete laundry process, it is important to segregate the stained load versus a normal soil load and then wash them separately. I understand the railway load that comes to a particular facility is of high volume, but then it is equally important to understand how do you treat those things and segregate and then follow the complete laundry process. And it is important and it is absolutely possible to give you a real clean linen through the complete process.
No, basically my point is, normally I deal nearly about 16 tons, that is 32,000 bed sheets per day we deal. So in this nearly about say 1 to 2% we get tough stains. So basically human tendency, they try to keep them away and they are not touching. Basically this is the practical problem. If something equipment is there, machinery or something, then I can insist my contractor to purchase that one and to process.
There are stain removing equipments which are available, but the kind of volume which you have, right? And then yes, like Lalit said, a lot of stains can be removed with processes, but there's still some stains which has to be worked manually. So for this, there are professional equipments, and we can share it with you. But again, it will involve manual involvement. It cannot be that you just put a stained bed sheet in a machine and then it comes out white. It will not. But then there are solutions which are available.
Manual involvement cannot be eliminated.
No, sir. Because see, a bed sheet is, let's say, a 2 meter by 3 meter, and there might be a stain at whichever corner, and every stain would be at a different location in a different fabric. So it's not possible to automate, because if you expose the same bed sheet to the like for a small stain to same treatment of chemical, the life of the linen will get impacted. That's why a manual treatment of stain is always advisable if it's a very heavy stain, and which is not going in a normal wash process.
Like Animesh mentioned, it is important to do a pre-spotting, but to do a pre-spotting, it is important to do the segregation. So when we are talking about a complete laundry process to be followed, there are no shortcuts in laundry, right? Now, of course, it is labor intensive, and the kind of loads that you get, it is huge in quantity. Hence, it is more important to do a good quality of segregation. And the other way to look at it is, once you wash the load, right, at the time of going the linen to the flatwork ironer, you can actually segregate it and then wash them separately. That way you can actually save time, but then there are certain stains which actually require stain removal technique and stain removal chemicals.
IoT of the things happening and with the technology coming in and with the RFID coming in, once the segregation has been done, whether that linen went into the process of washing, drying and all those activity is the solution where RFID comes into picture. You know, you mentioned some time back that blankets, whether it went for a wash or not.
Normally, one practical problem we are facing, our linen packet consists of 2 bed sheets, 1 pillow cover and one small face wash towel. The attendant is afraid of, he is normally facing the loss of this napkin, face wash towel, small towel.
True, the small towel that gets missing.
While issuing, he will issue, but in the return, he will, lot of towels are missing. What you are saying with this digitization and this RFID can give any solution for this?
Sir, with the technology coming in and with now we are talking about Wi-Fi having at each stations. You know, when I travel, there are Wi-Fi's in the, on the journey as well. That's what I said, with the IoT of things happening and with RFID as a solution, the pilferage that we are talking about, where the inventory is lying, can be tracked down very easily.
RFID technology, is it feasible for railways as we are dealing a huge quantity of...
So volume is the key. Where the volume is, there automation and technology is going to help you. That is where the efficiency or increment of process is going to come in. Like I was just reading some time back, Infosys laid down 9,000 people just because of automation. So volume is the key. Now, looking at the kind of volume that we are talking here, a human person, there is a error. There has to be an error. But with the technology coming into picture, this is precisely what has been taken away.
One thing I want to know, what is the difference between washing and dry cleaning? Normally, when we purchase sarees, the manufacturer will, when we purchase fashion sarees, the owner will tell that it needs dry cleaning, you cannot wash it in your
So
home.
I'll just explain.
What is the difference between dry
So
cleaning
I'll tell you,
and
sir.
washing?
Yeah, so there are 2 processes. One is when we say washing, it's a wet clean with water. And a dry clean is a process which is without water, using a solvent and using other methods. But the problem in India is dry clean is used as a generic word. Like, when we brush in the morning, right? People say, usually they will use it Pepsodent, but then they'll say, Colgate kiya kya? Same thing. So dry clean is a generic term which is used in India for something which we can't wash it at home.
It is
And trust me, sir, 80% of garments which goes to a dry cleaner is washed with water.
Sir, dry cleaning.
It's always the wash care label which defines which process it has to go. The fabric and the garment. So like we discussed in the morning, the railways blanket. So now there are technologies which are like wet cleaning, which is an alternate to dry clean, which, earlier people used to say wool, silk, they can only be, processed in a perchlorethene or a dry clean machine. So there are technologies right now available wherein with water and special chemicals, you can do these delicate garments as well. For which, like we are doing the demo for you for the railway blankets, wherein in a wet cleaning, we can also solve the requirement of railway washing.
The morning session, Mr. Thomas was telling, laundry chemicals are biodegradable or non-biodegradable chemicals also are used.
It is like, would you like to use caustic to clean your linen or not? Now, is it safe for the linen? Is it safe for the environment? Is it safe for the person who's using it? You ideally should not be using a non-biodegradable chemical.
So what is a biodegradable chemical, sir? How it will be?
A biodegradable chemical is when it is defined in 2 ways, the BOD and COD, which is biological chemical demand and oxygen chemical demand, is released into the environment and is consumed by the environment.
Value for optimum moisture removal. Optimum moisture removal. You
The
have to
G-
find the G value. G value. How to find it?
So you want to find out what the formula for the G value?
Formula, how we are finding it, actually in
So
field.
it depends upon the RPM of the extraction. So the RPM of the extraction, the drum diameter of the machine,
Yeah.
together with the formula, you can derive the G factor.
I
And
think
then you can weigh the garments before you wash, and then you can weigh it after you wash with the residual moisture, right? And then applying a formula, you can identify what is the G force.
Yeah, I will tell you what the G factor means. See, when the machine goes into the extraction, at that time there is a centrifugal force which is taking the water away. And G factor is nothing but how many times the centrifugal force is, centrifugal acceleration is compared to the gravitational acceleration. G, small g. This is big G, that is centrifugal acceleration divided by G. G value is 9.8 meters per second square, right? And if you take the centrifugal acceleration, it is nothing but R omega square or V square by R. So R is the radius in meters, omega is the angular velocity. So entire 360 degrees is 2 pi. So you can put that into omega, RPM, revolutions per minute. You convert that into revolutions per second. That is a revolution. Multiply this by 2 pi. So that becomes omega. So R into omega square upon G is the G factor. And that factor should be around 300 to 325, 350 for the washer extractors that are used for linen. 300, 350. And for dry cleaning machine is 75, like that. So that is the G factor, and it will depend, it will decide how much is the moisture retention.
In this bulk washing, so can we identify any wet linen automatically before going to after ironing? Because in this bulk production, sometimes little bit wet linen also is being folded and packed. So intermediate, can we identify and segregate some sensor like that? Market it, anything is available?
Moisture level sensors on the system. Perhaps an easier way to do it is when the bed sheets are being folded, you can make out that if it is damp or not by a simple visual inspection. Some of the feeders and folders that we have seen, not only for moisture, but even if the garments are torn or there is a stain on that, you have a very simple reject button on the folder or the feeder, which if the operator presses, the machine automatically removes it from the main production line. And then it can go for a particular process of, identifying what needs to be done to it, if there is a stain, or does it need to be ironed again, and so on and so forth.
how feasible is this process in a bulk laundry that you're talking for
It
Indian
is
Railways?
very much feasible. I think
Is it available in the market? Because I want to stipulate this condition in my upcoming boot laundry.
He's
Because
asking, is
already
it
I got
available
a
in the
boot
market?
laundry.
absolutely, sir. The stain tone system, the manual system, the easier system, I installed mine, I think in 1994-95, and it is still operational. So it's been, I think, a good 20 years, and it's still there.
So it got automatic moisture sensor.
Not automatic moisture sensor, sir. The visual inspection, which is much easier, and
Visual inspection means again human element.
yes, it will, sir.
I want to eliminate this human element issue.
Yes, sir. Then the
Because,
sensor,
during
then
my
the moisture sensor
inspection-
is perhaps
During
what
my
you're looking at.
inspection, they know I am standing there.
Sir,
Still, they try to push the linen with stains.
so I'll just add on this.
Human element I want to
Yeah.
eliminate.
So, sir, when you design your laundry, right, you specify some technical specification for the ironers, folders, and everyone, right? So, most of the international manufactured ironers, they have a special feature called moisture sensors. So, what happens is the ironer automatically adjusts the speed of the ironer, the roller, based upon the moisture, residual moisture of the bed sheet. I think most of the international ironers have that. So, if you put that condition as a mandatory for the ironer to have it, then even the after inspection is not required because the moisture level of the bed sheet would be identified by the roller, and then the speed of the roller would be adjusted accordingly. So end result would be standardized every time.
Yeah, this sensor should be in the ironing itself.
Yes.
Iron rollers
Then you
itself.
don't
the
even
sensor
need
should
the
be-
after inspection or the sensor for the moisture.
Yes, sir. And this is readily available. So while
every-
preparing the specifications, if you mention it, then you will get it.
Is that the technical term? Sensor, that's all? Is that a technical, is there any technical term,
moisture-
or is just called moisture sensor?
Moisture sensing
That's all
technology,
it's
that's
called.
what it goes
Okay.
by. And then everybody has their own brands attached to it.
Okay, right.
Any kind of laundry setup that we have to implement, whether small or big, commercial or retail, anything in nature, generally the question comes is about the ETP or the effluent treatment plant. So my very basic question, maybe probably sir, is that can we separate soap and water basically, like is ETP successful in a laundry setup? Sometimes we just have to put it up just to please the local administration and we are not going to use it maybe because it is expensive, and sometimes it's not even successful. So just the question is that is it ETP generally separates the soap and the water? Is it possible, and what is the costing?
And they are successful in life.
So we can separate soap or any kind of detergent or chemicals that we are using.
Yeah, water business is an absolute separate business. We are not into it.
Okay.
So I think, ETP, what ETP does is it neutralizes the pH level of the effluent and it makes it suitable to be drained into the drains or to the ground. That's what a effluent treatment plant does. And then you also have a sewage treatment plant which have a different characters altogether, but for the laundry it makes sense for the ETP to be done.
We are giving passengers linen in a packet having 2 bed sheets, kumbles and pillow covers and pillow, one face towel. Even after getting cleaned all the items of that packet, visually we can see that all the items are very cleaned. Even after that, some passengers are found themselves uncomfortable to use it because a very simple problem they are facing, that the bed sheets and pillow covers are very clean, but they are giving unpleasant smell. When we question the people who are washing the items, they simply said that we have cleaned it very thoroughly, but this problem we can't solve.
After the wash process, in the last rinse, you can add fabric softener, which will give good fragrance. But then, no
Fabric fragrance.
fragrance. But the point is, sir, the prices which you are paying to your contractors, unless you increase that price, nobody would add it because there's a cost to it. So if you have to make it a part of your tender in the wash process, in the chemicals, and that has to be incorporated in the price you pay to the vendor for the per bed roll. Otherwise, nobody would it's a recurring cost. So it's almost few rupees a kg, I would say.
Actually, there are a couple of reasons which are responsible for getting smell in the linen post-washing. One, of course, as Anshul rightly mentioned, you can always add a fabric softener or a fabric fragrance into the last rinse of the washing program. But at the same time, we also need to ensure that the fabric in the last rinse is getting neutralized properly. There can be a possibility of bleach remain or alkalinity remaining into the fabric, which actually results in the releasing of smell post the linen is dried. So what we need to do is to ensure that when the linen is out post washing, it has to be neutralized properly. And of course, one reason could be the quality of water, but then usually we don't get dirty water in railway facility or any other facility carrying smell, which so I am ruling out that possibility. But I do know that in many of the cases, if people do not neutralize it properly, it can lead to some kind of smell from the fabric.
It means there is no need to use the fabric fragrance if we follow the system you advised.
A fabric softener or fabric fragrance can give you a different kind of experience altogether. However, fabric softener can be used, but when it comes to fragrance can be a very personal thing, because you may like X fragrance, I may like Y fragrance. So the linen must carry a neutral feel, right? So fragrances, I would not say. Fabric softness can be, because it gives you softness in the fabric.
So we should emphasize on the neutral cleaning.
You should emphasize on neutral. No, your cleaner would not be neutral cleaner. It would carry alkalinity in it, but then at the end of the process, it must give you a neutral pH once the linen cycle is over.
Okay, thanks.
Lalit, what is the cost of such a, even I sometimes experience that when I've traveled, it's like as though it's been kept closed in some place, that kind of a, why does that smell come at all?
If the smell is coming, probably, and the another reason to this is probably moisture, so which means we have kept the cloth moist and it goes to the railway. That's the another reason of this particular thing.
A lot of it depends upon the specification of the machines. Like the problem of, not getting the dry linen, the problem of facing the order which you said, which is like Mona said, as a wet, So if you make the specification more stringent, right? Because see, the railways have been buying laundry equipment since ages. I would say probably, 100 years. But in every division has tried and tested different specifications and different models and equipments. But you have some places where you have good equipments, you have seen successful models. So why don't, divisions share their knowledge and experience and try to work out a specification? Might be generic, but to have the basic necessity technical specification which should be there to achieve the right results. If you do it, I think 90% of the problems would be solved.
Yeah, actually there is an attachment for everything. There's a solution for everything. It's just that we need to know the exact attachment that is required that has to be installed. Am I right? Yeah, that's right.
The specifications are so generic that you're asking even a contractor in a booth, right? You ask him to buy certain capacity, right, which does certain job. That's it. And then you pay him a certain price to do his job. So there are a lot of loopholes and open-ended areas wherein you cannot ensure what would be the end result. Still the right equipment, the right process after 100 years of experience in washing clothes. The whole point is right. One thing is the right competitiveness and open platform that everyone can try to bid. But then a basic quality has to be maintained.
No,
right?
quality standards we are trying
Exactly.
to stringent, basically. But not on equipment front.
So, but see,
Equipment,
you cannot.
we say our requirement is so much.
So you cannot fix the end result without anything, on the process. You can say, okay, I want this result, but anything can be, before that. You will never be able to achieve the end result. If there would be open-ended scopes, there would be a scope of, people moving towards different ways. Even it's a chemical. So see, why? Okay, so you have done a standardization on chemicals, right? You have 2 approved vendors, which is Diversity and Ecolab.
Diversity
Why
is
so?
normally.
So I think this exhibition has more than 20 vendors who manufacture chemicals. So you have almost moved 18 out of it. And then why it cannot be? Because you need a certain level of quality. And these are the best,
No,
right?
they are also, we are accepting other chemicals also. Though initially we started with Diversity, so Diversity we have taken as a standard.
Exactly.
And we are encouraging other chemical manufacturers
So at least
also.
you have created a standard in chemicals.
Yeah.
So similarly, I would suggest that create standards in the equipments as well. So that, okay, you allow others also. But if there is a standard, the contractors or the people who are doing, so you create a policy, but the others who follow that policy. If there's a standardization, these people who follow would obviously stick plus minus 10% on those. So it will definitely help improve the end result.
I'd like to add here, when you put down your stringent requirement or whatever you call that, you are actually giving the manufacturer the scope to customize it to your requirement. So when you get the machine to your end, it is actually what you want. Am I right? So it's very important that you lay down all the specifications, whether it's stringent or light, which meets your requirement. And once the manufacturer knows, yes, this is what I need to supply, they are going to make it for you.
So trust me, the railways have such volumes when every manufacturer would love to customize equipment as per your needs.
Absolutely. And even if that part is not available, they'll buy it, procure it, and give it to you. Any more questions? So shall we conclude the session?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all the officials coming here. Before I close the session, I would all ask you to please come on stage for one photo, please.